Chapter 11. Reform and Renewal, Solving the Problems Within. CHAPTER 1. Reform and Renewal, Solving the Problems Within. Nehemiah's story teaches a crucial lesson. Rebuilding structures is only half the work. Lasting transformation requires addressing the heart of the people and the systems that govern them. After the walls of Jerusalem were completed, the city should have been secure and thriving. Yet Nehemiah quickly realized that external achievement alone was insufficient. Beneath the surface, corruption and exploitation threatened the stability of the community. Nobles and officials were charging exorbitant interest, seizing land, and taking advantage of the poor, creating injustice and discontent. Nehemiah 5:1-5. Nehemiah responded decisively. He confronted the leaders directly, appealing to their conscience and sense of covenant responsibility. He reminded them of God's law and their shared duty to care for one another. He also led by example, refusing to exploit his own position for gain, demonstrating integrity and accountability. Nehemiah 5:14-19. Through negotiation, moral persuasion, and the re-establishment of equitable practices, he restored fairness, renewed trust, and reinforced the community's cohesion. This principle is echoed elsewhere in Scripture. King David, though a mighty warrior and unifier of Israel, faced internal challenges that threatened his kingdom, including family strife and rebellion. 2 Samuel 13:15. Ezra, returning with the exiles, emphasized teaching the law and renewing the covenant because external rebuilding of the temple and the city walls would have been meaningless without spiritual and moral restoration. Ezra 7:10. Nehemiah's approach highlights a critical leadership truth. External progress without internal reform is fragile. Walls may be strong, but if the people within them are divided, exploited, or morally compromised, the work will not endure. Lasting success requires attending to both the tangible structures and the intangible systems of justice, accountability, and ethical behavior. Leaders must cultivate integrity, fairness, and discipline alongside achievement to ensure that what is built continues to thrive. Reform before sustainability. In leadership and enterprise, the same principle applies. Growth without integrity is fragile, and expansion without reform eventually collapses. Many organizations can display impressive structures, towering buildings, large revenues, or vast networks, yet quietly suffer from internal decay, unethical practices, complacency, misaligned values, or eroding trust. These unseen cracks eventually compromise everything built. Reform and renewal, solving the problems within. Nehemiah understood this. After rebuilding Jerusalem's walls, he could have declared victory and stepped back. Instead, he turned inward to the people, the systems, and the soul of the city. The wall was only a defense. Righteousness and justice were the true foundations of Jerusalem's future. When he discovered that leaders were exploiting the poor, hoarding wealth, and violating covenant principles, Nehemiah 5:1-13, he confronted the corruption head-on. His leadership proved that restoration without reform is short-lived. The same pattern holds true in modern leadership. The downfall of many once great institutions, from corporations to ministries, often traces back to neglected inner structures, ethical compromise, lack of accountability, or cultural toxicity. Success magnifies hidden weaknesses, it doesn't conceal them. A company, ministry, or nation can survive external attacks, but internal rot will always bring collapse from within. When he became CEO at Unilever, Paul Polman inherited a company known for its financial results, but struggling with purpose and sustainability. He recognized that profitability without responsibility was unsustainable. He led a sweeping reform of values and systems, linking profit to ethical sourcing, environmental stewardship, and employee welfare. By reshaping culture before pursuing aggressive expansion, he positioned Unilever not just for growth, but for meaningful, responsible longevity. His leadership echoed Nehemiah's principle: fix the heart before celebrating the harvest. Likewise, in leadership transitions or business turnarounds, reform must precede scaling. Leaders who rush to expand without first confronting toxic behaviors, misaligned incentives, or moral compromise are building on sand. True sustainability demands the courage to pause, evaluate, and clean house. Just as Nehemiah paused construction to confront injustice among his people, modern leaders must be willing to halt operations, realign teams, or even lose short-term gains to protect long-term integrity. In Scripture, this truth reverberates across generations. King Hezekiah, for instance, did not begin his reign with military campaigns or architectural feats, but with cleansing the temple and restoring worship. 2 Chronicles 29:3-11. His reforms rekindled the nation's spiritual health and opened the way for national revival. Similarly, Jesus' cleansing of the temple, Matthew 21:12-13, before his crucifixion symbolized the need for internal purification before divine expansion. For any leader, whether in ministry, business, or governance, the call is the same: reform before sustainability. Correct what is wrong inside before celebrating what is visible outside. Audit your values before expanding your operations. Clean the heart of the organization before decorating its walls. When Nehemiah confronted the nobles and restored justice, the people rejoiced, not just because the walls stood tall, but because integrity stood taller. Lasting success is not built on the height of achievement, but on the depth of righteousness. Rosalind Brewer, CEO of Walgreens Boots Alliance, assumed leadership at a time when the organization faced significant internal challenges, operational inefficiencies, workforce disengagement, and misaligned systems. Brewer understood that no matter how promising external initiatives or growth strategies appeared, they would falter without addressing the internal health of the organization. She implemented comprehensive operational reforms, reform and renewal, solving the problems within, streamlined workflows, and clarified responsibilities across teams. Simultaneously, she reinforced core values, fostered a culture of accountability, and aligned incentives to ensure that employees were not only competent but also committed and empowered to act in the organization's best interest. By tackling the internal culture head-on, Brewer strengthened the company's foundation, allowing external initiatives to flourish sustainably. Her approach demonstrates that organizational resilience is built from the inside out. A team aligned in values, systems, and purpose can weather external pressures and capitalize on opportunities, while misalignment can quietly erode even the most promising ventures. The principle is universal. Successful leaders recognize that the integrity of their team, the robustness of their systems, and the clarity of their values determine the durability of results. Ignoring internal challenges for the sake of visible progress often leads to recurring problems, wasted effort, and eventual collapse. Addressing internal misalignment restores trust, strengthens commitment, and ensures that accomplishments, whether in business, ministry, or community development, are anchored on a foundation that can endure challenges and sustain long-term growth, transforming the inside to sustain the outside. Sustainable success begins internally. Just as Nehemiah addressed corruption, exploitation, and moral compromise within Jerusalem after the walls were rebuilt, Nehemiah 5:1-13, modern leaders must ensure that the people, culture, and systems within their organizations are aligned and healthy. Internal reform is the foundation upon which external achievements endure. 1. Address misconduct and misalignment. Promptly, Nehemiah did not ignore the internal injustices he observed among the nobles and officials who were exploiting the poor through excessive interest and debt slavery. Instead, he confronted the issue head-on, calling out wrongdoing and demanding restitution. Nehemiah 5:6-13. By addressing the problem immediately, he restored fairness, preserved trust, and strengthened the cohesion of the community. In modern leadership and business, this principle is just as critical. Unchecked misconduct, whether favoritism, ethical lapses, or systemic inefficiencies, can erode morale, create division, and sabotage long-term objectives. Leaders who delay intervention risk allowing problems to escalate, making them harder to correct, and potentially compromising the organization's integrity. Prompt action demonstrates courage, sets clear standards for behavior, and signals to teams that accountability is non-negotiable. Addressing misalignment is not merely punitive, it is strategic. It safeguards the organization's mission, reinforces core values, and ensures that the foundation supporting growth and external achievements is solid. Just as Nehemiah's decisive response preserved the unity and trust of Jerusalem's citizens, modern leaders fortify their teams and operations by confronting issues directly, consistently, and with fairness. 2. Teach and model core values. Ezra played a pivotal role in renewing Israel by reading and explaining the law to the people, ensuring they not only heard God's commands but understood them and could apply them in daily life. Nehemiah 8:1-18. This was not reform and renewal solving the problems within a passive instruction. Ezra actively modeled reverence, obedience, and commitment to the law, providing a living example for the people to follow. In leadership and business today, teaching values is not enough on its own. Rules, policies, and codes of conduct provide guidance, but they only influence behavior when leaders embody the principles behind them. Teams are far more likely to internalize standards of integrity, excellence, and collaboration when they observe leaders consistently living them out in decisions, communication, and everyday actions. Modeling core values also sets the tone for culture. For example, a leader who emphasizes transparency and demonstrates it in financial reporting, feedback, and conflict resolution fosters an environment of trust. Conversely, if leadership espouses values but acts contrary to them, morale erodes and organizational cohesion suffers. True renewal and sustainable progress come when values are seen, understood, and practiced from the top down. Just as Ezra's teaching revitalized Israel's spiritual life, leaders who both teach and exemplify core principles create a culture where ethics, accountability, and shared vision thrive, strengthening the foundation for all future initiatives. 3. Invest in people's growth. Lasting reform and renewal are not achieved through rules alone. They require developing the capacity, commitment, and character of the people involved. Nehemiah recognized this principle as he organized the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls. Each family and leader was assigned responsibility for a specific section, Nehemiah 3, giving them both ownership and accountability. By equipping them with clear roles and responsibilities, he ensured that progress was not only made but sustained, as each person became invested in the success of their portion of the wall. In modern leadership, the same approach applies. Employees and team members should be empowered with training, mentorship, and growth opportunities that align their personal development with organizational goals. This strengthens engagement, enhances competence, and fosters a sense of responsibility. Just as Nehemiah's delegation created leaders within the community, investing in people today cultivates a workforce capable of sustaining initiatives, adapting to challenges, and carrying forward the vision beyond the immediate leadership. Renewal is holistic. It transforms systems and hearts. Organizations that focus solely on processes without developing their people risk stagnation or regression. Conversely, leaders who combine accountability with personal and professional growth build resilient teams capable of maintaining integrity, productivity, and alignment with the organization's mission over the long term. 4. Regularly reassess culture and processes. Nehemiah's leadership did not end when the wall was completed. He continually monitored the city's security, the organization of the gates, and the dedication of the people. Nehemiah 6:15-16. By observing and responding to changes in the environment and the team, He ensured that the rebuilding effort remained sustainable and that the city could withstand future threats. In modern leadership, internal reform is likewise an ongoing process. Organizations must periodically evaluate culture, processes, and team dynamics. This involves assessing whether values are being reform and renewal, solving the problems within upheld, workflows are efficient, and people remain engaged and aligned with the mission. Situations evolve, market conditions shift, teams grow, and new challenges emerge. So what worked yesterday may not suffice tomorrow. Continuous reassessment allows leaders to identify weaknesses before they become crises, adapt strategies to maintain alignment, and reinforce accountability and standards. Just as Nehemiah adjusted leadership structures and vigilance measures to protect the wall, today's leaders must refine policies, procedures, and organizational practices to ensure that achievements are not temporary but endure. By embedding a culture of ongoing evaluation and refinement, organizations transform internal reform from a one-time event into a sustainable habit, strengthening both people and systems for long-term success. The lesson is unmistakable. External success without internal integrity is fragile. Nehemiah's walls did not endure merely because of stone and mortar. They lasted because the people's hearts were aligned with the work, committed to justice, accountability, and shared responsibility. Nehemiah 5:1-13, 6:15-16. When internal reform of values, systems, and behaviors precedes or accompanies outward progress, achievements are reinforced, not undermined. In leadership and enterprise, the same principle holds. Organizations can launch successful products, expand markets, or achieve impressive growth, but without cultivating ethical practices, robust processes, and engaged, empowered teams, progress can collapse under pressure. Leaders who address misalignment, model core values, invest in people, and continually reassess culture and systems create environments where achievements are secure, scalable, and sustainable. Just as Nehemiah's legacy endured because he strengthened the people as he strengthened the walls, modern leaders ensure that the structures, projects, and initiatives they build remain resilient when the inside is strong enough to support the outside. True sustainability flows from the combination of external accomplishment and internal integrity, a balance that transforms temporary victories into lasting legacy.